started. This webinar is being recorded so that we can share it with all of you and with those who couldn't be here today. My name is Elena Corbett, and I am the Director of Education Abroad at Amideast. And today I'm joined by two dear colleagues, Dr. Miriam Gitat, who is joining us from our offices in Tunisia, and my colleague from here in the DC metro area, Justine Pinkerton, who is our program assistant. They will both be, I'm gonna talk very briefly to just kind of introduce what we're doing here and a little bit about the program, and then I'm going to hand things off to Miriam, and then we will hand things off to Justine, and then we're going to hopefully have plenty of time for questions and answers. Of course, we'll also be available, anytime after beyond the webinar to answer your questions and take your comments. Thank you so much for being here today. Just to give you, I won't give you the exhaustive history of Amideast. We would all be asleep very quickly, but we are a nonprofit organization. We've been around in a few iterations for almost 75 years. And those of us from the Education Abroad department we function basically as a third-party provider of study abroad programming specialized in the Middle East and North Africa. And so every year we send probably at least a few hundred people, high school students and university, post-secondary students, to various countries in the Middle East and North Africa on our own programs or on a number of customized and faculty-led programs that are designed by we partner with different universities around the United States and beyond to put those together. And also on some programming that is sponsored by the US Department of State. And Miriam works on a lot of those programs, and so she's happy to talk more about any of those if you're interested. We are so excited about this program, and we feel very, very strongly about it. We've been working really hard on it, and so today really feels a bit like a milestone, just that we've gotten to this point with you here and having this webinar, about to open an application for the program, and we're looking forward to the first iteration of the program, of course, in June. On the June 2023. On the call with us today, we know that we have a number of prospective participants, applicants to the program, and we also know we have some reviewers, some folks from our reviewing team, and we know that we have some faculty and staff who are the folks who really support participants in terms of applying for these programs and letting them know that these kinds of programs are out there. The kernel of this really got going in the spring of 2019. And I think we may have a few colleagues from Montgomery College out there. Hi to those of you who have made it. But they hosted this wonderful event called Going Global, Growing Local, which was just a fantastic opportunity. And they were kind enough to invite us, and they hosted it on their campus. And I think it was a 2-day event. And it was just a wonderful gathering of faculty and staff and students from community colleges in the DC metro area and slightly beyond, about all the wonderful strengths and all of the challenges and all of the wants and all of the needs in terms of study abroad and internationalization and these kinds of things. And it really got us thinking at Amideast Education Abroad. We were privileged to attend, and we said, God, what can we do? Like, we want to do something. we want to do something in this space, do something for good. Of course, COVID intervened shortly thereafter, and here we are, like 3.5 years later, and we've all had a particular experience of that, and challenges and ups and downs, and hopefully now there's a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel. But what we're really hoping to do with this program are a couple of things, and then I'm going to be quiet and pass things off to Miriam. One, we want to do something about the fact that community colleges comprise the bulk of higher education in the United States, but have been afforded a very small role in the education abroad space. We all know the reasons why. It's not right, it's not fair, it's not equitable, and we want to be part of changing that. The second thing is we feel a very particular kind of kinship, I guess, because we are a Middle East and North Africa only provider of study abroad programming. And while so many US students study abroad outside of the United States every year, fewer of them come to the wonderfully diverse and amazing countries in our region than go anywhere else. And that's not okay, and that's not fair. And we want to do something to change that too. And the other, something that goes hand in hand with that is that when people do come to our region, they tend to do so for reasons that I would, for lack of a better word, I would call very, very colonialist. Yes, it is very important to study languages, but there's so much in terms of politics and securitization and American exceptionalism that really goes into that. And meanwhile, we know, because our region is so diverse and there's so many amazing opportunities out there, you can study anything in the Middle East and North Africa that you would study everywhere else. You don't have to go to London, you don't have to go to Australia, you don't have to go to Spain to do it. And we really want to try to flip those paradigms of learning and knowledge on their heads. And that is really the meat and potatoes of what's going into this program. And so without further ado, I would like to turn the floor over to Miriam, who's going to tell us a little bit more about kind of the nuts and bolts of the program, and also talk about, why we chose Tunisia and why Tunisia is the perfect place to try to run this, especially the first time out.
Thank you so much, Alina, Dr. Corbett, for this introduction. I think you laid the ground pretty well for how and why I want to present this program. Tunisia has been, since the revolution, actually, since the 2011 revolution, has been a hot topic for many social sciences disciplines and humanities disciplines, but it's been always kind of addressed from one lens, that is the lens of the US. And I think these kind of the US academics, the US methodologies, and I'm talking also as myself being an academic who has been part of these conversations. And so I think what the added value of this program is, you mentioned the horizontal understanding that it offers, the fact that it puts the US students into conversations with Tunisian peers, and the fact that it offers them the opportunity to take the Tunisian experience at its own, study it on its own terms, but also link it to more global conversations and, use it as a point of comparison to maybe, other issues or discussions that are happening in the US. The fact that we're working with civil society in Tunisia is also exceptional and amazing for us here as a field office of Amideast. We love working with Tunisian civil society, but I think it's also an amazing opportunity for community college students, in the United States. Civil society in Tunisia and the fabric of it is diverse, and since the revolution in 2011, it has been growing, and its role has been changing through the different political and political events that Tunisia has been going through. Civil society has first been kind of a net of resistance, and then it became kind of a community of advocates for, change, for democracy in Tunisia, but also, civil society as an advocates when we talk about topics of justice and accountability, when we talk about justice like equal rights, like access to justice, when we talk about migration, mobility. North Africa, as you may know, is kind of the, a hotspot for discussions about mobility and migration as well. And civil society in Tunisia has been heavily included in these conversations. So again, like when we talk about these issues in Tunisia, I think one can use these conversations to think about what's happening in the US and kind of try to think closely of these different experiences and bring them together. And maybe we can actually talk more about what brings us together rather than what makes us different. And so, yeah, one last point that I wanted to talk about is how North Africa and Tunisia specifically would offer students from the, from community colleges, the perspective of what's happening here from the global South. North Africa has been, North Africa has been for a while now studied as part of the MENA region, or studied as part of the, kind of the Middle Eastern kind of geographic portion of the world. But I think we can actually start looking at it more globally and see what it offers when we talk about, broader conversations and see the added value of it. So yeah, this is why I think this program is amazing and exceptional. And I think I'm not being very subjective in here, but also I want students from the United States to come to Tunisia. Every student that we had in our programs before really enjoyed the countries. They enjoyed the experience of working with our field officers here, but also kind of exploring the beauty of Tunisia. And so, yeah, I invite everyone to apply to the program and join us.
Great, thank you so much. I'm excited. I'm not going to get to go. We're not going to. Mariam will be there. Some of our other colleagues will be there, and so and Justine and I will kind of sit here from home and watch from afar longingly. But without further ado, Justine, a little bit about Justine. She's been with us for I guess about a year and a half or so. So she's been here. She's been instrumental in really the kind of, just like our colleagues, Mariam and her team on the ground are really instrumental in setting things up there. There are a lot of things that have to happen here to make it so that we can get everybody there on the ground. And Justine has really been instrumental in working through what this application would look like and setting it up and how these processes are going to go. And so she has a little presentation for you that she's going to give you. And she, more than anybody else, is really the person who is there from A to Z in terms of working with students and working with advisors on campuses or faculty and staff on campuses who are trying to assist people to get through the application process and answer those really important kinds of process questions. So Justine, please take it away.
Hi everyone. So I hope you can all see my screen. Thank you, Elena. Thank you, Miriam. So in this little part of this presentation, I'm just going to go over the program materials that will be required, the process, timeline, eligibility, kind of those sorts of topics. So all of our applications are completed and submitted online via our application portal, but just, going into it so you're all aware of what you're going to need, we do ask for a general information form. So that just asks where you go to school, what you study, biographical information, kind of straightforward. We also ask for a signature verification form, which just means that you'll be asked to upload a photo or scan of a photo ID, a government issued photo ID, so something like a passport or driver's license. It has to be official. And you'll be asked to physically sign a cover sheet. So if you don't have a touch screen like laptop or tablet to sign that with like your finger or a stylus, you'll need access to a printer. So that's something to keep in mind. And that does take about up to 3 business days for a staff member to manually review once it's submitted. So when you're thinking about the timeline of submitting your own application, make sure you build in enough time to have that approved. There will also be 4 short answer questions, which should be answered in about 200 words or less. There'll be a recommendation form. So this can be asked, so you can ask like a faculty member, an advisor, coach, community leader, religious leader, employer, really anyone that can speak to your character and ability to participate on this program. It's not a traditional letter, it's just a form with specific and pretty brief questions. So it really shouldn't take more than about 30, like at the extreme end, 30 minutes of your time. It's very brief. Once the applicant enters the contact information of the recommender into their application, the recommender will receive an automated email from the portal asking them to complete the form online. If the recommender or the student thinks that it'd be better to have a PDF form, you can always reach out and I'd be happy to send that to you, and you can email it back completed and I'll upload it to the application. As a general note for both the applicants and the recommenders, if you're not receiving automated emails from the portal, you should make sure to check your spam folder. A lot of the time, if you're using like an institutional or business email address, they'll get sent to spam. So just be aware of that. And your application is not considered complete until we receive that recommendation. So again, make sure you're building in enough time for your recommender to complete that form before the deadline. And lastly, you'll be asked for proof of enrollment, which can be uploaded right into the application, or if it needs to be sent from your school directly, you can email it to the edabroad@amideast.org email address. That can include something like an official letter from your registrar, an unofficial transcript that you can just usually download from your student portal, which just shows your current enrollment, a copy of your latest tuition, really anything that just proves that you're enrolled, and it should have a date from a recent time on the piece of paper. So in terms of the actual application process, as I mentioned, there is a website. It's edabroad.amideast.org. You can go there, select new program application, and then you'll select case from the program list, click the link and hit the apply now button on the program brochure. So just a note that the apply now button will only appear if the application is actually currently accepting applicants. So right now you'll be able to see the brochure, and you'll be able to see the brochure all year round, but you won't only be able to apply when it's open. So you can go there after this webinar and look at some of the details that I'll be going over, but you cannot apply quite yet. You'll be asked to open an application account, and you'll need to complete all of those materials I already discussed by the application deadline. And after you complete every material, you need to make sure you hit submit, and then also hit submit on the entire application. Once you're completely done, we won't be able to see your application until you hit the submit button. So that's really important. And because you'll have an account, you do not need to finish this all in one sitting. You can come back, your answers are saved. You can take as much time as you need. So for timeline, we're looking at a mid-October, end of October application deadline. After that, we'll have a panel of reviewers review all of the applications, and the top 30 applicants will be moved to the semifinalist stage, where you'll be asked to do a short phone interview sometime end of October through end November. After that, we'll select 15 candidates, and they will be notified. Well, every applicant will be notified of their status before the beginning of the new year, and there'll be 15 students selected for the program. For those selected as finalists, they'll notice in their application portal that it moves from a pre-decision to a post-decision sort of phase in the portal, where you'll be given a whole new set of forms and questionnaires to fill out. One of those will be a form for additional financial assistance. So the program, everything about the program is covered except for passport fees and airfare. So not all applicants need to fill out this financial assistance form, but if anyone needs help with passport fees and/or airfare, they're welcome to fill this out. We ask that you do it immediately after selection, so that way we have time to go over the application, get you your funding, and that way you can get your passport before the beginning of the program. Additionally, throughout the winter and spring, finalists will be invited to join the Amideast online learning management platform. We'll have we'll host pre-departure webinars, provide lots of resources just on like the logistics and preparing for your program, on Tunisia as a host country. So lots of variation there. Finalists should also complete all of those post-decision questionnaires in their application portals. So in addition to the application for financial assistance, there'll also be like a medical information form, accommodation requests, passport information forms, just things that we need in order to prepare for your arrival and your participation. So by early May, all finalists should have their passports and plane tickets and have completed all of those post-decision materials. And June 2nd is departure day. So like, as I mentioned, the cost of the program is funded by Project Minna, and that includes your pre-departure programming. So all of those webinars and resources that we give you, hotel accommodations while in Tunisia, your meals, airport transfers, and international medical and evacuation insurance, program activities and any associated entry fees or transportation costs, ongoing program support once you're on site, and when you return, access to our Amideast alumni network. And once again, extra funding is available for passport fees and airfare. So on that program brochure page where you'll hit the apply now button, we do have a sample calendar. I say sample, it's kind of purposefully a little vague, but the two dates that are firm and you should know are that June 3rd is the arrival date for students coming to Tunisia, and June 10th is the departure date. So those are firm. Everything else is, subject to change, but this gives you a really great idea about the topics that will be covered, some of the opportunities that you'll be able to take part in, like community service activities, city tours, things like that. So it's on the program brochure page. You're welcome to go check that out. And lastly, there are only 3 eligibility requirements to apply for the program. The first is that you must be a U.S. citizen or permanent resident of the U.S. Second, you have to be currently enrolled in a 2-year institution or seeking a 2-year degree or similar non-baccalaureate degree at a 4-year institution. And you must be fully vaccinated for COVID-19, and that includes at least 1 booster shot. So that's both an Amideast policy and necessary to enter Tunisia. This could change, but right now it's 1 booster shot plus your initial vaccination series. And knowledge of Arabic or French is not required to participate on the program. Everything will be done in English, so no foreign language requirements. And that's really like a quick overview. As I said, all of this information and the applications can be found at edabroad.amideast.org, and I'll send that in the chat right now. So thank you.
Okay, great. Thanks so much, Justine. What we're going to do in terms of the chat, if it's possible to try to keep any question, we have lots of time for questions and answers, and most of those are going to be for Justine and or Miriam, and very few for me. So I'm going to kind of monitor the chat box over here, and then kind of toss those questions at you, Justine and Miriam. And the first one is there an approximate cost for airfare, which would have probably had a different answer before travel in the COVID times. I don't know, Justine, do you want to take that one? Or I can actually take that one because I've been buying a lot of tickets lately. We have some programs, this is not one of them, where we actually purchase the tickets for participants. I have to say that ticket prices right now are completely nuts. If you have traveled at all by any means over the summer, I've never seen tickets either so expensive or so wildly various in terms of cost. One of the issues is we have to do it in June for particular reasons. That is the start of high season, and ticket prices tend to be a little bit higher. That said, I'm hoping we can keep them under 2,000. It all really depends a lot on where participants are coming from. In terms of, any participants we have coming from places with where they need to hop a small regional, go to a small regional airport to be able to get to a gateway city in the US to be able to fly overseas. Those are very expensive right now. Coming from a place like, if you can have ready access to a gateway city like DC or Chicago or New York or Detroit, or some of the Texas airports, or LA for that matter, you'll probably be able to get a cheaper ticket. I'm hoping that that we can find tickets, you know, that everybody is going to have access to tickets under $2,000. But you know, it's anyone's guess right now, given the state of air travel and the cost of air travel. All right, going back up. Okay. Was there a required GPA for participation?
No, there is not. We consider applications holistically, so all students are welcome to apply. Those eligibility requirements that I listed are really the only 3 requirements.
All right. Is this program open to graduate students pursuing 2-year master's degrees? No, this is entirely a pre-baccalaureate program. Right. Can you share a bit more information on your pre-departure orientation sessions?
Yeah, so there'll definitely be like kind of sort of a logistics session where we'll go over how to pack for international travel, like how, like in terms of, you know, there's some things you need to consider in terms of like medication and what's in your carry-on, all of those things, especially for first-time travelers. So we'll go over all of that, like what to do when you arrive. We'll have someone from Amideast meeting you at the airport. So like lots of like the little logistics things right before you leave. That'll be one session. We also have pre-recorded sessions on identity and intersectionality, as well as health, safety, and security. So those are available to students. We will be hosting a session on kind of like the ins and outs of applying for a passport for the first time, or like, you know, maybe tips and tricks on how to get book your airfare. So we really want to make it accessible to first-time travelers or first-time international travelers, as well as people who may have had international trips before. So it goes from everything from just like how to do it to very specifically things to consider when traveling to Tunisia. Mm-hmm. And there will also be Miriam, I'm sure Miriam and Donia, the other Amideast officer working on the program, will also have like a session when they arrive in Tunisia, just kind of going over more of that as well.
I should mention, we do actually have a cohort leader who is he unfortunately couldn't be here today, but he is a community college graduate and has gone on to have many fellowships, U.S. State Department fellowships to study Arabic, to study MENA region cultures and all kinds of things. And he's a MENA region specialist, and we will introduce you to him once we have everybody kind of in the system and we're rolling. And he's going to host at least one session in that pre-departure sequence of events that will happen online to do a little cohort building and introduce himself. And there'll be lots of, you know, suggested readings and this kind of thing to try to prepare you as much as possible. But the point is, by no means, you don't have to be any kind of Tunisia or regional expert whatsoever. So a lot of those things that we make available, you know, you can do them at your leisure, and you know, they're meant to give you sort of the broadest possible and you know, really impactful, meaningful foundation for what's going to be going on the program. Moving on, next question. What qualities are you looking for in competitive applicants?
Yeah, so that's a good question. So as I mentioned, there's because it has such a strong element of the civil society organizations, we're really looking for applicants who are able to show that they will be able to take what they learn on this short program and implement it in their own communities at home, even in like a very small way, but just that applicants are able to show that they have this a position in their community where they can really bring this back and do something with it. We also are looking for like diverse cohorts. So that's something that we'll be considering when we choose the candidates. And we want to see that when it comes to the recommendation that the, hopefully the applicant picks someone to fill out the recommendation form that's able to speak to that position in their community and able to speak to their motivation to both, participate in this program, but also bring it back and use the things that they learn. So I think that that's kind of like the big thing, but I'm sure Elena, you have something else to add, I'm sure.
I don't really, we've really tried to make this so much about, for lack of a better way to put it, kind of humility and commitment vis-a-vis community impact back home. Which isn't to say you need to be some kind of great, like we're not looking for, amazing community leaders or something like that, but sort of that kind of that thought about, the issues that we're talking about on the program. And the program is community, activism, and social entrepreneurship. And so we really are looking about some kind of thoughtful comment. And again, they're very, as Justine noted, these are very short questions and with very short answers in the application, and we are just really looking for that kind of that commitment to these critical issues that is, as human beings we have to be addressing to move forward on a planet we can live on together. And that interest in those, and then sort of that interest in being a lifelong, member of a community with an eye toward, being active for the betterment vis-a-vis all of those issues, and some sort of sense of social entrepreneurship. But it's no kind of grand plan is required. Do we have any other questions?
If not, maybe I'll jump in and talk a little bit about, the orientations that we do here on site. Donia, my colleague, is with us today. She is the program officer who will be accompanying the students when they come to Tunisia. And basically, on site, the students will receive a holistic orientation about everything that Tunisia related. It goes from kind of, cultural specificities to food, to how to take, the public transportation, to, language, Tunisi language, the Tunisian dialect, and how it is different from, the standard Arabic language, because we receive many students who are proficient in standard Arabic, and they come in, sometimes they expect that the Tunisian dialect is the same. So there is a lot of deconstructing that we do in our orientation sessions, like deconstructing what people think and expect Tunisia would be in these 8 days. But also there is a lot of, familiarization that we do, like this is what your 8 days will be about, and this is how we can help you get the best experience you can in this very short amount of time. And Donia is actually here, so yeah, Donia, jump in.
Thank you so much, Mariam, for giving this brief introduction about Tunisia. Thank you so much, Elena and Justine, for giving the hi. It's been a long time, haven't seen you. But yeah, it's amazing seeing you all here. And just I would like to add that you are not alone once you arrive to Tunisia. You have people, staff that will be meeting you at the airport. Staff will be there with you all the time for your requests, inquiries, or any questions you may have. We are 24/7 available to you via WhatsApp or Messenger, or any kind of mean of communication that you use. And our staff are fluent in English, Arabic, and French, and they can practice with you any language you want. That you will have other things. Everything you will have in advance, your the calendar, the itinerary, everything else is already planned for and coordinated between both our offices in HQ and Tunisia. This is a great experience. All I'm saying is it's been, and I'm really, really proud to say it, all of our students who came to Tunisia came back to Tunisia afterwards, either to visit or come with their family or came with their friends. It is such an experience that they benefit from, but also they love, because it's it's challenging, but also it is it's very, very rewarding as well. I invite you all to consider coming in here, because it is nothing that there's nothing that you will regret at the end of it. So yeah.
Thank you so much, Dunya. Do we have any other questions, thoughts? These were really good ones. We really appreciate them. And we really appreciate everybody who was able to come today and who registered to, to at least get a recording. You missed the answer to the master's degree question. No, this is a pre-baccalaureate program. Entirely pre-baccalaureate program. Are there any other questions? Feel free to put them there. If you don't have that, I mean, I know I always feel like when I'm in these webinars, like, I'm on the spot, I'm like, I don't have a question, but then I think of a question like 2 minutes after the webinar's over. Justine, I know you've put a lot of your contact information up there, but if you could throw it up in the chat again, don't worry, you won't miss us. We're very easy to find. And if you misplace our contact information, you can just Google us at Amideast Education Abroad. And we really take a lot of I mean, it's usually Justine you'll be hearing from, but if she, if it needs to be kicked to me, it'll be kicked to me. And we're really happy for all of your questions. Thank you for coming. Thank you for being interested. And thank you in advance for also just getting the word out. It's hard when you're, we're such a small study abroad operation. And I think we do a lot of good things, but because we're so small, we always have this challenge of like shouting to the world that we do some good things. And having programs in Tunisia is one of the really good things that we do. And we're particularly excited about this program. So as much as you can to just, get the word out there that this program is available. We're starting out with 15 students. And we're hoping to build on that. And, I'm hoping that one day we're going to have these also beyond Tunisia, and we'll have them in Morocco, and we'll have them in Jordan, and we'll have them in the UAE and so many of the other countries that we work in, and that we'll get more, more US Americans, more young people, to this wonderful part of the world. It can only be a good thing. And we want to do it, and we're excited to do it with you. So if there are no more, if there aren't any further questions, we will call it a webinar. Thank you again all for coming. Thank you, Emily. We didn't do anything. We're just happy to have you here. So truly, and everybody have a good rest of your week. We'll be sharing this link with you for the recording, and we hope to see the applications in there. Feel free to reach out to us anytime. We will be having some other webinars, not necessarily about CASE, but like for International Education Week. Actually, that one will be community college specific, because we will have a number of community college graduates who now work in the MENA region or on MENA region specific issues who will be part of a panel in that webinar. And we will also be seeing you hopefully at different things. We will be attending a few different regional NAFSAs. We like the regional events because they're small, they're intimate, and it gives you a chance to actually kind of talk to other people. So we will be attending the one in Milwaukee. Justine will be in Milwaukee in October, and I will be in Charlotte and Pittsburgh. Go Steelers. I'm from Pittsburgh. So originally, so I'm really excited to go to my hometown for that one. We'll be in Charlotte and Pittsburgh in November, and then we will be at CCID in February. So we hope to see you around in person after so much time away and doing these things virtually. So, all right, thank you so much, everyone. Take care. Send us your questions and we hope to see you soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.